There we go. I was like, where's the little message? So again, hi everyone. Welcome to our quick grant information session. This is the first time that we've held in a while. So we're very excited to share more information about the program and also share some very exciting news. My name is Stephanie Barajas, Program Officer at the Center for Cultural Innovation. Today, I am joining in from the unceded lands of the Muwekma Ohlone people, also known as San Jose, California. So for the next hour or so, we'll look at the quick grant guidelines, eligibility criteria, and then like Lorena mentioned, we'll share some application tips and leave time for a brief Q&A section. So we'll go ahead and start with the next slide. Okay, so, and then if I can just have everyone mute themselves during the presentation, that'd be super helpful, thank you. So a bit of background information if you're new to CCI. So CCI is a 501c3 arts nonprofit grant making intermediary that's been around since 2001. So our entire team currently works remotely and we have staff throughout California, in the US. Like I mentioned, I'm in San Jose, Lorena is in Oakland, and we have, folks spread all over. So CCI's focus is mainly in supporting individual artists and arts workers exclusively, which we do through business trainings, workshops, commission research, grant making programs like Quick Grant, and advocacy. And so now on to Quick Grant. So Quick Grant is actually one of our longest running grant programs. It's been around for about 15 years now, which is truly incredible. So who does Quick Grant support? So Quick Grant program supports arts and arts organizations, financial resilience through professional development support. It offers microgrants of awards up to $600 to California artists, creatives, cultural practitioners, cultural producers, and specifically San Francisco and San Jose nonprofit arts administrators to participate in professional development activities that help them build administrative capacity, hone business skills, and strengthen the financial resilience of the grantees' practice area of cultural production or arts organizations. And we'll go a little bit more into what this means. You can also find more information about the program if you'd like to review our guidelines, FAQs, application preview on our website. And I believe Lorena already dropped that link in the chat. So next, yes. So the Quick Grant is a pooled fund program, meaning that we receive funding from various funders like foundations and city and county entities, which also kind of informs the regions and the types of applicants that we support. So we would like to acknowledge and thank the funders who make the Quick Grant program possible. And that is the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, Grants for the Arts in San Francisco, the San Francisco Arts Commission, the California Arts Council, the Maxwell Hanrahan Foundation, which is also headquartered in San Francisco, the City of San Jose's Office of Cultural Affairs, and the Los Angeles County Arts and Culture Department. So, next slide. So now we're going to talk briefly about some exciting news. So the Quick Grant program, for those of you who are familiar with it, might remember it as a reimbursement grant. So that meant that grantees needed to register for the activity, pay out of their own pocket, and then provide the reimbursement documents, and then we would reimburse them for that. So we've done away with that policy, and now grantees can take the money up, or will receive the award upfront. So we're hoping that this is going to help bring down some of the barriers of access for folks who couldn't afford the activities upfront. So we're very excited about it. We've done this now for like 2 months, so it's still a fairly new change. But again, we're really excited about the potential. Also, our application has now moved completely to submittable. Before, you used to apply through our own website, which was a little clunky. And so now things are a lot more streamlined. All of our notifications go through submittable. So if you don't have an account yet, we encourage you to create one so that you can start applying to the program. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about the application process in a bit. So next slide. So who can apply, right? So the folks that are eligible, and I mentioned this a little bit already, are artists, creatives, cultural practitioners, and cultural producers. And what does that mean, right? So CCI intentionally doesn't define what these labels or identities mean, because we're interested in understanding how you see yourself within the field. And so, but we are looking to your resume. The application does require a resume to be uploaded for that information to kind of be reflected in the resume, right? So we basically just want to make sure that you are in the arts and culture sector, and that, again, that is reflected, right? So if you have a history of working in another field, that's great. But if you're a freelance artist, or if you have a degree in arts or anything like that, those are things we want to make sure to see in your resume. And QuickGrant also supports nonprofit arts organization staff members, but only in the city and county of SF and in the city of San Jose. So anyone outside of those regions, unfortunately, cannot receive support for an activity that would benefit their role as a nonprofit staff member. But they are still eligible to apply as an individual. So if you have an individual, if you are an individual with your own practice, you can still request QuickGrant funding to get financial support for any professional development activities, and that applies to everyone in California. And then I'll speak a little bit about fiscally sponsored orgs. So fiscally sponsored organizations and the city and county of San Francisco, or the city of San Francisco, are also potentially eligible to apply. We need you to give us a call to check your eligibility. And then there are a few documents that you will need to submit. And that includes your fiscal sponsor's tax ID number, a copy of your fiscal sponsorship agreement letter, and a statement from the fiscal sponsor verifying that the majority, 75% or more, of your programming actually takes place within the city and county of San Francisco or the city of San Jose. So next slide. Eligibility. So, and again, we already talked a little bit about this, but I'm saying it to reinforce it because sometimes it's not clear. But who's able to apply, what kind of activities are eligible for QuickGrant support? So again, QuickGrant are for professional development or technical assistant activities only. And we will go into more detail about the types of activities that are eligible, as well as ones that are not. So we are open to considering a wide range of professional development activities, as long as you, the applicant, makes a strong case as to how this activity is going to strategically build administrative capacity, home business skills, strengthen the financial resilience of your organization, your artistic practice, your area of cultural production. That includes networking, field learning, things like that. But again, we're interested in understanding how this activity is going to help you achieve these things. So next slide. So eligible activities, right? So the most important thing when looking at an activity is to look at our deadlines. So activities, in order to be eligible, must begin after the application notification. So that means that let's say our applications are due on the 15th of every month. And again, we'll go more into our application deadlines, but they're due on the 15th of every month. And so if you were applying by, let's say, January 15th, then your activity would need to start on February 16th or after. If your activity starts on February 13th, then unfortunately it's not eligible, and you would have needed to apply by December 15th, right? So we're working on this like 1 month turnaround, and that is the 1 month turnaround is not based on when you submit your application, but rather when that particular monthly cycle ends. And so, okay, some examples of eligible activities include, but are not limited to, conferences, convenings, festivals, business trainings or workshops, platform memberships. And I do want to mention for platform memberships, there must be a skill building component to the platform membership, right? So if you just want to pay for a yearly subscription to Zoom, unfortunately, that is not eligible because there's no learning component. Yes, it would help with your practice, right? Like you may need Zoom to have meetings, to hold online classes, things like that. But there's no skill building attached to it. If for some reason Zoom decided to add this whole like learning side to it, then you could make a case as to why. Again, it would help you build administrative capacity and all the other things I've mentioned already. Some of the ones that folks have applied for and got funding to support are like Skillshare, Masterclass. I believe there's one called like Art and Tell or Art and Show, something like that, where, right, like you get not only connected to a mentor, but you also have access to workshops, things like that. So something like that would be eligible, but something that's just like, let's say Hootsuite, you want to be able to schedule social media posts in advance. Something like that, unfortunately, would not be eligible because, again, there's no skill building attached to it. Another thing that is very popular and that we see a lot is like one-on-one work with consultants, coaches, and mentors, or any support to bring your practice of programming online. This became really relevant after COVID, since folks needed to switch from in-person activities to online things. I will say for all of you in LA County, as of May 16, 2019, Los Angeles County applicants may request to work with a consultant, coach, or mentor around a learning topic that supports administrative and or business skill building and should make a case for how this learning cannot be attained in any other way. So funding for these type of activities for LA applicants is very competitive. So you really need to make a case as to why this type of learning, you can learn it in a class or in a public workshop, right? Like, why do you need this one-on-one support? So next slide. If you see me looking around, it's because I have two monitors, but so ineligible activities. And this is where sometimes we do have to decline a lot of folks because their activities just unfortunately ineligible. So activities focus on primarily creative or artistic skill development, art teaching, or teaching artist methods and techniques for artistic presentation and production are unfortunately not eligible for quick grant support. And what does this mean, right? So if there's a residency that you're interested in attending and you want to get funding to support your travel costs, that may not be eligible if the sole focus of the residency is on artistic development, right? Like you have a whole week to work on your next sculpture, your next novel, then that is something that unfortunately Quick Grant cannot support. But if there's other aspects to it, like networking or professional development support, right? Like they're teaching you how to brand yourself, how to do all these other like behind the scene things, then it may be eligible, but we're looking to you again to make a compelling case about that. If you are hosting a workshop and you want funding to support the production of that workshop, unfortunately, that's not eligible. And yes, you can make a case that by like hosting this workshop, you will learn how to better schedule and coordinate and do these more administrative tasks. But still, unfortunately, not eligible because the main focus of the event is you're seeking funding to put on an event, and that unfortunately is not supported by this program. So also other types of activities that are ineligible are those that support an applicant's adjacent enterprise. And what does this mean? So if you're looking to get funding for, let's say you're a sculptor, but then you are also a teaching artist, and you go into classrooms and you want to take a course to build better curriculum. Unfortunately, that is something that the quick grant is not able to support. If you wanted to take a course or a class to help you learn how to brand yourself as a sculptor, then that is something that would be eligible, but not to support like the teaching artist aspect of your practice, unfortunately. And that is just due to the competitive nature of the program and the limited amount of funding that we have available. And so that includes, yes, arts education, journalism, even, and a few others. And if you have any questions whether your request is eligible or not, you can always reach out to us and we can help you determine that. So another type of activity that is ineligible would be requests to support overhead, general operating expenses, or lost income. So let's say you're, again, participating in a residency, and for that week, you won't be able to go into work or to do the usual things that you do to get an income. Unfortunately, Quick Grant cannot support for that lost income, right? And so any requests like that, or you want to hire someone to help you write a grant or anything like that, unfortunately, Quick Grant is not able to support those type of activities. Another thing that Quick Grant does not support is like the purchase of art supplies, materials, or advanced inventory. Activities proposed by artists, creatives, cultural practitioners, or cultural producers to support the operations of a nonprofit or their role as an arts administrator. So that means that if you're outside of the city of San Francisco or the city of San Jose, and you're requesting funding to support an activity that will then have an impact on your role as a nonprofit arts administrator, that wouldn't be eligible because of the geography. And then lastly, something I mentioned already, activities that have already taken place or that will occur before the application notifications are sent. So again, if you're applying for something that starts before the notification date, after the cycle in which you submitted your application ends, then that unfortunately will not be eligible. Again, if you've already participated and you're looking to get reimbursed, unfortunately, we cannot do that. You have to apply in advance. So next slide. Okay, so the review criteria. So again, and I mentioned this here and there, but due to the competitiveness of the program, our team will review the impact on the applicant's professional development as an artist, creative, cultural practitioner, and cultural producer to build their administrative capacity, home business skills, and strengthen the financial sustainability of their arts practice or their area of cultural production. And I'm repeating this because these three things are very important, right? Like that is the focus of our grant. And so we're relying on the applicant to let us know how the proposed activity, the one that they're seeking funding for, is going to have an impact in their practice through one of these three categories, right? And so in the Quick Grant application, you'll see there's a section called Proposed Impact. So there, we are really looking for a statement that makes a compelling case as to why it is important for you to receive funding to participate in X activity or X residency, right? Here in the slideshow, we have a succinct and competitive proposed impact statement. So I'll read it out loud just so you know what we're looking for, right? So as an individual artist, I have been looking for specialized, affordable help to update my website and make it easy for people to see and purchase my work virtually. Recently, the provider began offering workshops to help update websites, manage marketing, and build a new sales platform for my business. I believe this workshop will enable me to promote and sell my original and reproduction artworks virtually. And another thing that you can also add is kind of like who you are and at what stage of your career in. We're not necessarily looking at that as a deciding factor, but it does help us kind of understand your situation, right? So I would say, as an emerging visual artist, I am looking to learn how to brand myself better in order to sell my work and be able to build a sustainable practice, right? Even something like that. can make a really competitive case as to why you need this funding. Okay, one more thing that I will say is that, so Quick Grant, when we're reviewing these applications, we're not necessarily looking at artistic excellence, right? Or even the impact that your work is having in the communities you're serving. We know that as artists and creatives, however you identify yourself in your practice, right? Like, you're doing amazing, amazing work that is having a tremendous impact on yourself, on the communities you're in, the communities you serve. But for this particular grant, we're really focused on how the particular activity that you're proposing is going to support your professional development, right? A lot of the time, artists are trained in the more artistic side, but not necessarily on the business side of things. So that's where Quick Grant comes in. Next slide. So some important information, right? So applicants requesting funds to hire a consultant, coach, or mentor must upload a letter of commitment from the proposed individual, along with a copy of the consultant or coaches or mentors bio and resume. So that means that you've already spoken to the coach or the mentor or the consultant that you want to work with, and they've already agreed to take on this work with you. And then we also need to basically verify that they have, right, like that they have the skills of business work that they are doing in the field. Also, activities beginning before the notification date will not be considered. And again, I am reinforcing that because that is the type of applications that unfortunately we have to decline the most because of the dates, right? Like, just again, so if you are looking to apply by October 15th, which is our next upcoming deadline, your activity needs to start on November 16th or after, not prior. Another thing, so like I mentioned, applications are now due via Submittable, which is our platform, and we'll share more information as to where you can find that. It's on the Quick Grant page. On the 15th of the month by noon. So again, that's very specific to CCI. All of our grants really are due at noon rather than like midnight or the end of the day. So please keep that in mind. Afternoon or after noon passes, the application will no longer be available. And then, like I mentioned, there's a month turnaround. So if you apply by September 15th, then you will hear from us on October 15th. And the only reason why you may not hear on the 15th is if it falls on a Saturday, like over the weekend. So we might let you know the day before. And then for the following cycle, applications will open on the 16th of the month by 9 a.m. So between noon and 9 a.m., nothing will be available and submittable, but they'll open up on the 16th. And then due to the high volume of requests that we receive, and because we have, unfortunately, limited funding, partial funding may be awarded. So let's say you requested 600 for your activity, you may be awarded for 20 because we were only able to give 70% of your request, again, due to the volume. And then lastly, I will mention that it is the applicant's responsibility to enroll in the activities specified in their application and to make any necessary contracting agreements with the proposed consultant, coach, or mentor. So we, if you know that there's limited space, then we encourage you to sign up in advance rather than waiting until you hear back from us. And the next slide. So important deadlines. So again, like I've mentioned many times now, applications are due on the 15th of the month by noon via Submittable. And then you will hear back from us by the 15th of the following month. And again, if you submit, like let's say now, you submit your application today, September 27th, you won't hear back by October, right? Like you're gonna hear back by November 15th because your application is being reviewed with our October 15th applications. So just that in mind. And then again, applications will only be, they're only accepted via submittable. And the slide deck has a link to it, but also if you go to our website, which I believe we shared earlier in the chat, if you scroll down, it'll say submit your application, and you can click on there. It'll take you to submittable. You can create your account if you don't already have one, and you can start working on your application. The great thing now of being on submittable is that your application progress is saved automatically, and then you can also do it yourself, and you can come back to work on it. Before, you needed to complete it in one sitting. So now that we're in submittable, it's much easier. And then here, I listed the deadlines on the slideshow, right? So if you apply by October 15th, your activity needs to start November 16th or after. If you apply by November 15th, then your activity needs to start on December 16th or after, and so on and so on. So next slide. And then here's some general application tips and tricks for just grant writing in general, right? So the quick grant application is a little bit different because we're asking for very specific information. I mean, like more like most grants do, but we're trying to make it as simple as possible in a learning opportunity. A lot of the times, the quick grant is the first grant that artists are getting. And so again, we're really interested in making it a learning opportunity for you. So the first thing that we'll say, review all ephemera. So please make sure that you read the guidelines, the FAQs, the application preview. There's a lot of great information that is on there already. And we encourage you to make sure to read that and process that. And then if you do have any questions, please reach out to us. We're happy to work with you to help you answer any questions, but we encourage you to read the information that's already there. We've spent a lot of time, right, working on it, making sure that it's digestible. But again, if you do have any questions after you read through all of that, you're more than welcome and very much encouraged to reach out to us. And again, this is just true for all grants. Like, please read the guidelines. It'll really help you work on that process. And then the other thing, connect with the funder, the grant administrator. Like I've been mentioning, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here to help. We want to give out this money, right? We want to support the fields. Like, this is why we do the work that we're doing. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about eligibility, about dates, about submittable. We're here to help you. And then always make sure that you answer the questions that you're being asked, right? Sometimes a grant will ask you 3 things in one prompt, and you want to make sure that you hit all those 3 questions and not just one, right? Because then you're doing yourself a disservice by not offering all the information that the grant is asking of you. Also, please use the application and guidelines verbiage, right? So the language that we're using, like honing administrative capacity, increasing field knowledge, networking, things that are mentioned in the guidelines and FAQs, use that in your proposed impact statement. Let us know how you're going to achieve those things, because again, that is the focus of this grant and what we're looking to support via funding. And then avoid responses that are overly technical or dense and abstract, right? Like, just be clear, make sure that you're clear and you're speaking to you're like, not necessarily too detailed. You're not using very flowery language or very technical language that the reader may not necessarily understand, right? Like, if you work in a field that's very specific, we may not necessarily know all those terms. So don't assume that the person reading your grant proposal will know those things. Provide budget notes. So Quick Grant does have a section for a budget that is very short. So we just want to understand the cost of the activity, any other costs, right? Like if you're going to a conference and you have travel costs associated with it, then we want to understand what those costs are. And because Quick Grant only provides up to $600, if the activity costs more than that, where are you going to get the funding for that difference, right? If it's out of pocket or crowdfunding, or you've gotten another grant, we're interested to see that. And that is just for us to get an understanding of where artists getting their funding from, right? And then the last thing, assume nothing. Again, it's easy to unconsciously assume that someone is familiar with your work or your practice or the activity that you're looking to enroll in. But avoid this and aim for specificity or context, right? A good test for this would be to have a friend read your application to see if they're left with any questions, or if they understand, right? Like what you're trying to get across. And then next slide, which is our last one. So like I've been saying, please connect with us. You can call us at 415-288-0530. And please leave a voicemail. I'm the one monitoring our phone line, and sometimes I'm in a meeting or I'm in the phone with somebody else, and I want to be able to get back to you. So please leave a voicemail with your name, number, and your question, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Or for a faster response, you can always email us. You can email us at quickgrant@cciarts.org. Our hours are usually Monday through Friday from 10 to 5, but we do have specific like grants office hours where you can also make an appointment to make sure that we can talk. I'm not on the phone or a different meeting. So you can do that. And then I also encourage you to sign up for our monthly newsletter. We usually share our own grants and funding opportunities and those of others that we see come across our desks. And also follow us on social media. That is where we announce a lot of our things like this imposition and upcoming grants, things like that. And we're dropping our link tree on there where you can find all those helpful links. And that is it for the presentation. So we can go ahead and stop sharing. And now we'll take some questions if any of you have any lingering questions.
So there weren't any questions right now in the chat, but folks, please feel free. I see a hand raised. Kenny, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hi, my name is Kenny. I just wanted to know, so the budget for this grant, the most is that you could get $600?
Yes.
Okay. And then let's say, for this grant, can you do, like guest speaking artist? Would that work or no? Like, let's say if, I work for a nonprofit and, we don't have the funding for like guest speakers to come in and talk to the students about like animation, graphic design. Would that budget be able to pay for guest speakers?
Yeah, well, the first question I would have for you, Kenny, is like, where is your organization located?
Oh, it's in Wilmington, California.
Okay, so I don't think that's inside San Francisco. So like I mentioned, unfortunately, Quick Grant is only able to support nonprofits and specifically nonprofit art staff members in the city or county of SF or the city of San Jose. So unfortunately, it doesn't sound like you'd be eligible to receive funding to support your role as a nonprofit arts administrator. But if you yourself are a practicing artist, then we can definitely speak about different activities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And that's also in part due to the funders, right? So that's not specifically CCI. So I just want to make that clear. If you see earlier in the slide deck, all the funders that participate in the Quick Grant. So that's partially their request. So just kind of keep that in mind. We do have a question. So hi, if someone offers skill building through their Patreon, Substack, or other subscription service, would that be an eligible service?
Let's see. Charlene, would it be okay if I ask you to kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, like for example, I know some people that have like Patreons that, they offer like kind of more in-depth like coaching or just like things that are kind of catered to like something that I'm interested in, that I think would be helpful. So I'm just wondering if like, you know, if someone offering these like skill building services and they have like a subscription that I can, you know, if that would be something that can fall under the category, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I actually haven't seen that come through, but it sounds like it would definitely be eligible and competitive for funding. Again, we're open to a wide variety of activities. So you would just need to let us know, how is this activity helping you within, you know, Bill's capacity, like administrative capacity, or do these other things that are the focus of the quick grant. So that definitely sounds like it could be eligible. And it would really be on you to let us know how and like through what offerings.
Yeah. And then I guess my next question to kind of follow up with that is if like this person, you know, if they're offering their services virtually, um,
Mhm.
do they have to be in San Francisco or San Jose, or can they be yeah.
Yeah, no, so there's really no restrictions as to where an activity is taking place as long as it is eligible. So if this is happening online and the provider is like somewhere else in the country, that doesn't really matter. When we're talking about geographic restrictions, it's only for folks who are part of a nonprofit and they're looking to enroll in a class that will then have an impact on their role within that nonprofit. And so if that is happening, then you do have to be in the city of County or of San Francisco or in the city of San Jose. But for like general providers, right? Like if you decide you find a consultant in New York and you want to meet with them online, that's totally fine. As long as you yourself are like somewhere in California.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So we have one question. Would CCI fund a disabled artist trying to pay for a virtual assistant? This is from someone with the name Fat Black Liberation.
Yes, so thank you for the question. Unfortunately, no. We would, I think during the presentation, we covered this a little bit, but we would take that as like overhead expenses, right? Or like things like that, that unfortunately the quick grant does not support. Like if you wanted to take a class yourself to, I don't know, and I'm making this up, but if you yourself as a practicing artist wanted to take a course on like how to learn to manage your time or something like that, then that would be eligible. But unfortunately, like hiring someone or like getting funding to then pay someone else to do a thing for you is not eligible.
Cool. We have a hand raised. So if you want to go ahead and yourself and ask your question, and then we also have the next question in the chat. So in our tag.
Yeah, that's me, Mike Alvarez. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Stephanie was telling me about a sample of the application that's on the website, and I'm at it now. And I was at the quick grant website, and I couldn't find the sample at that particular location. And I was wondering, I mean, I could bug you guys, you know, with a phone call on this. I don't need to take up the participants. That is one quick question. And then also want to mention to Kenny, if he's in animation, to go to NRTEG. And I work with some of Hollywood's best animators on my project. So if you want to do some networking, get a hold of me, nrteg@earthlink.net. But anyway, on the looking at the quick grants website, where is that sample located? Is it at that site or somewhere else?
Yeah, it's on the site. So here, I'll go ahead and share my screen so that you can see. So this is our website, right?
Okay.
Here's the quick grant. If you go to funding, you'll see find information about all of our programs, but then you can also go to content. And then here you can a lot of information I went over today. Here, please review the program guidelines, FAQs for additional information.
Mhm.
You'll find a copy of the guidelines, a copy of the frequently asked questions, and here's an application preview.
Okay, I see it. I saw that earlier. I just, it's probably pre-coffee.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Now, one other quick question. Now, I'm in Los Angeles and
Mhm.
I didn't qualify for the first one, but I didn't really know what I was doing. There were some questions there that the demonstration will answer, but I'm in Los Angeles. I can still apply for, the quick grant, correct?
Yes, so
Yeah.
again, it's open to all California artists, creatives, cultural producers, cultural.
Okay, yeah, I figured that. And then I feel, with the limited budget amount for the quick grants, I imagine I would focus that on my website upgrades, which I have limitations to. I need basically new chassis. I have a Model T. My websites are on Model T, so we need a Ferrari. So we have limitations on what we can load up. All right, well, that's good. I got that answer where the sample is. And if you get turned down, you can just keep applying, correct?
Exactly. So if you
Yeah.
get declined, we'll let you know exactly why you were declined, and then we'll also encourage you to set up a meeting with me to go more into depth as to why you were declined and
Okay.
for the next round that you're competitive.
Okay, good. Okay, I think that's it. I'm like the general cultural. Oh yeah, well, there was a question about what is cultural production.
So it really depends. I think that again, like we don't try to CCI doesn't try to define the different ways that artists or creatives may identify themselves. So I think that we can definitely talk about
Yeah,
this.
we'll talk about this later. I think that was one of the questions that I in the application, I believe, that I may have flubbed on or something. But anyway, okay, we can talk about that later. You guys are very accessible and we appreciate it.
Yeah. Same like,
Okay, so how do I get out of this? Hopefully.
I think you can just mute yourself.
Okay.
Listen in.
Do I stop my mute or do you guys shut the mute off?
We can do it for you. Would that help?
I mean, I got it
Does that
right
help you out?
here. Okay, I'm done with my
Okay.
questions. Thank you.
Feel free. Okay, thank you. All right, so we do have one more question in the chat,
Mhm.
which is by Sumita. So I hope I pronounced your name right. So I teach Indian classical music. To participate in the community program, organization asks for participation fee, which is sometimes quite expensive and unaffordable. Would CCI consider funding for the program?
So if the sole focus is to teach, again, the Indian classical music, then unfortunately, no, that would not be eligible because it sounds to me like the focus is solely on artistic development, which, as I mentioned, that is something that the Quick Grant program doesn't support. We're focusing exclusively on professional development, and that includes like business trainings, admin tasks, anything in that realm. So anything having to do with artistic development or presentation techniques, things like that would not be eligible.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I don't see any other questions in the chat, but we do have the link to the guidelines, application preview, FAQs, which was put there by our deputy director. Thanks, Laura. So what Stephanie had shared, that webpage, that's the link to that. So we still have about like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But if y'all don't have questions and you're feeling okay for now, great. Oh, question coming through. So like a Coursera course for program management would work?
Yeah, definitely. I think the key for that would be for you to let us know how is that going to improve your practice, right? So it's like the activity has to be eligible, and then you have to let us know how is this particular activity going to have an impact on your practice, right? On your administrative capacity, on your business development. Like, how is this going to help you build a sustainable practice as a practicing artist? Or creative, or however you identify. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and then again, you can always reach out to me via email, via phone, right? Like if you find a course and you want to run the activity through me, or you want to talk through why this would be impactful to you, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to provide that support.
And we do want to encourage folks, if you're wanting to, schedule time. It's the best way. And that's not necessarily with CCI. This is with any grants program. If you are able to schedule time to talk to someone, because that time is just reserved for you, because it's hard with phone calls, you play phone tag. We are accessible, but like Stephanie said, if we're in a meeting or doing things, we want to make sure that we have time just to focus on your question. And be sure to have all your questions prepared ahead of time. Make sure you reviewed everything before setting up time with Stephanie.
Yeah, and here, I'm gonna drop my Calendly link. So you can go ahead and schedule a time to speak with me. Sorry, I was trying to do too many things at once. So here is my Calendly, and you guys can go ahead and schedule a time to speak with me. And you can always email.
All right. So it's about 10 till. Not seeing any more hands raised or not seeing any more questions. So I think this is a nice time to kind of close things down. And so just want to share a big thank you to y'all taking the time and joining us today on this sunny, at least it's sunny where we're at over here, afternoon. And so thanks, Stephanie, for sharing all of the information with Quick Grants. Yes, it is $600, but there's a lot involved. So please be sure to reach out with any specific questions you have. Again, be sure to review everything that's available online regarding this fund. And hope y'all enjoy your Wednesday.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.